Public meeting of City of Tallahassee Independence Ethics Board is now called to order on this day, February 15th, 2022 at 4 p.m. The board members are present here at City Hall along with members of the public. With the assistance of the Communications Department and the Information Technology Department, this meeting is live streamed on the Ethics Board's webpage and we are recording it for future reference. There is a delay with the online communications and we should all be patient. We thank those members of the City of Tallahassee for their support. At this moment, let's rise and pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Floyd, please call roll.
Carlos Ray.
Present.
Ryan Smith.
Here.
Willie Barr.
Present.
Ernie Payne.
Here.
Kristen Coster.
Here.
And Robin Bowen.
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'll review the procedures for public comment and conducting the meeting. For those attending the meeting online, please make sure your microphone is muted. Last week, we asked the public to make a request by email to ethics@talgov.com at 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting. If you wish to speak online on agenda or non-agenda items, those who have submitted their names will be given a chance to speak as scheduled. For those of you who are present and wish to speak, please complete a request form and forward it to the ethics officer, Mr. Dwight Floyd. Board members, have you received the agenda and supporting documents? Okay, at this time, we'll move on to the minutes for January 18th, 2022. Any comments or edits on those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve? Ms. Costa moves, Mr. Payne seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Floyd, do we have any public comments on agenda items?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do. The first is Richard Herring.
Thank you, Board. I want to talk about Blueprint and the CRA. So as you guys have already talked about, and as you're well aware, it doesn't say anywhere that this board has or does not have jurisdiction over the city commission when they serve as the board of the CRA or as a portion of the board of Blueprint. And right now you kind of have dueling legal opinions. You have your attorney's opinion, and then you have the city attorney's opinion that go in opposite directions. And we want to go on record as strongly supporting your attorney's position as being the better reasoning. The city attorney seems to rely on 2 points in my reading of it. The first is that the city charter talks about this board's jurisdiction over elected officials, and then it talks about this board's jurisdiction over committees and boards. And she seems to roll those two things together to say that if a city official serves on a board or commission that's not a city board, they're excluded. But that's not what the charter says. So I think there is a flaw in that potential argument. The second thing the city attorney relies on is the 2 Florida statutes that allow the city commission to create the CRA and allow the city commission to create at least its part of Blueprint or to participate in Blueprint. And the piece that's missing there, I think, is the Florida Constitution, which prohibits dual office holding. It says specifically, no person shall hold at the same time more than one office under the government of the state and the counties and municipalities. So how do you get around that? Well, the Attorney General has addressed that for us. In 9704, the Attorney General said that a city commissioner cannot also serve as a commissioner of a CRA unless the city commission declares itself to be the governing body. In other words, there's an identity. If you serve on the city commission, you serve on the CRA. Can you resign from the CRA? The Attorney General, as a city commissioner, the Attorney General has said specifically, no, you may not. The CRA board may not vote to expel a board member who is a city commissioner, because the commission, part of being a commissioner is that you serve in both of those places. It's all part of the same job. That's how you get around dual office holding. Similarly, in 9816, the Attorney General concluded that although a community redevelopment agency is a separate entity from the City Commission, which is what the statutes say, The City Commission's service as the governing body of the agency is viewed as, and this isn't a quote, an addition to the existing duties of the City Commission. Not some separate body, but their additional duties to their service on the City Commission. And then in 89-60, the Attorney General said, the two positions, the CRA and City Council, work in tandem. To be a member of the City Council entails being a member of the Board of Commissioners of the Redevelopment Agency. There is an identity there. It's not like when I serve on the City Commission, I'm doing one thing, and when I serve on the CRA, I'm somehow magically a different person with a different job and different responsibilities. I'm still that same elected official. So we believe, ultimately, and I think this is where your attorney's ultimately, his position ultimately takes you, that it's the intent of the voters that ought to control. The voters said this board should have jurisdiction over elected city officials and others, but here we're talking about the elected city officials. They voted on that in 2014. Those same voters have subsequently elected this group of city commissioners, well knowing that they serve on Blueprint, well knowing that they serve as the board of the CRA. When they elect them, they know they are electing not only their city commission, but the boards of those two agencies. When they vote, they're making that decision. So we think it's the intent of the voters that they ought to be under the ethics code and under the jurisdiction of this board. And to the extent that it doesn't say anywhere that the two boards, those two independent boards, are in or out of this board's jurisdiction, we think the intent of the voters, what they voted on in 2014 and what they have subsequently, how they've subsequently voted to elect officials, ought to control. We do want to applaud positions taken by the mayor, who's on record that he believes the city ethics code applies to commissioners while they serve on Blueprint and the CRA boards, and Commissioners Matt Lowe and Porter have supported amending the city charter to clearly state the ethics board position. Thank you.
Thank you. To vote.
Oh, I am reminded, it is also our position that the city commission voted to adopt the city attorney's legal memorandum, which they can do. But in our read, that has no force and effect on this board. They didn't amend the charter. They didn't amend an ordinance. They simply took a position, a legal position, so that I guess that would be a defense if you took up a complaint against a city commissioner while they were serving on the CRA. It would be our position that you could do the same thing and simply vote to adopt John Reed's legal opinion, and that would be the position of this independent ethics board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waring.
One other, Mr. Peter Butson.
Yes, I hope you can hear me. I have a church meeting going at the same time. In any case, I just wanted to indicate that Mr. Herring has made precisely the points that I was going to make, so I don't think I strongly support his position.
Thank you, Mr. Floyd. We can move on. We're going to address this later on in the meeting. Ethics Office report.
All right, Mr. Chair, and we should move quickly. We received a memo from me summarizing a busy few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it's been, doing everything from campaign contribution, refund program, to preparing for the ethics workshop, other matters, sitting on a seminar on public trust, fostering public trust, which I appreciated. Responded to complaints, conducted training with new employees, attended a CRA district meeting where I gave a presentation, a welcome presentation on ethics. So it's, without going into a lot of detail, it's, you're getting your money's worth. On the budget, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, I trust Lucy with the budget. I haven't even looked at the numbers. Is there anything that's standing out in?
It's just standard. We didn't spend much money this.
Okay. Any questions about the budget?
Mr. Payne?
Yes, is there an item in here somewhere for investigative services? Was that last month or
Well, we haven't
haven't done any?
paid anybody for investigative services.
And one other thing, the presentation you made to the CRA board, you did 2 of those, right?
Yeah.
Did we get copies of the presentation, or I was looking forward to the video and they didn't videotape it?
I can check and see. 'Cause I was there as a guest, so I'll check and see. Oh, you're asking for a copy of what I presented?
Yeah, what you did. I know there's no video.
Yeah, I can give you, it's a little PowerPoint, so I can give it to you.
Thanks.
No complaints this month?
And there weren't any formal complaints.
Any action items on this board?
No, sir.
Moving on to item number 7.
The ethics workshop, and I'll turn it over to the chair in a moment. It's scheduled for 10 o'clock in the morning. The chair, board attorney, and I will be sitting at the table with city commission members. And we will have the opportunity, the chair will give a full presentation, and he'll go over that presentation with you shortly. I think that's really all I have to say. In your packet, if you go past where it says review of citizens' input, you'll see an outline what you will be presenting.
Thank you. So essentially tomorrow will be the workshop that's been working on for a couple of months now. And there's an opportunity for us to present the recommendations we sent to the city commission, where they will take it up and discuss it amongst themselves before take it for, hopefully for a vote in a city commission meeting. First I'll be introducing the board and going through all the board members who have been appointed and who appointed you, to make it clear that we are coming from huge different segments of our community, probably represented in this board, and who we answer to, and what, not so much who we answer, but who appointed us here, to make it clear that we were created by the city voters, and we've been appointed by representatives of the city. FAMU, FSU, public defenders. We're waiting for our state attorney to appoint one, but we have a pretty full board. We've had a very consistent board since I've served here, which has been very helpful and very effective in getting things done. I'll then go into presenting the recommendations of this board as simple as possible so they can grasp it, because I doubt many have read everything we've given them. So just go through the first recommendations dealing with lobbying. And what we're going to be addressing with our recommendation on lobbying is the definition of lobbyist. Should not be one where you define the term with the term itself, so it's not circle. A lobbyist is one who lobbies. So we're trying to clear that up and truly define it based on the terms used in statute, and also providing the exemptions to what a lobbyist is and is not. So it's clear that people who are serving as individuals or experts will not be grouped into the term of lobbyist. And I think that just helps clarify when they're dealing with the city, who is dealing with the city, and what role they are before the city. Also, registration of lobbyists is requiring that the covered individuals are ensuring that those who come before them are properly registered and recording why they're there. The registration not only includes, will not only include the names, but we're also requesting that they include in the registration what ordinance or what they are there for, representing, why they're trying to get done as a lobbyist. Contact logs is another thing we'll be addressing, which is requiring the lobbyists to submit their information, to maintain a record, and to submit that, make that available to us. Banning contingency fees is based on the state ban on contingency fees for lobbyists. Basically ensuring that people who are going before the commission are not basing their income is not based on how successful they are in getting a contract. And that's, I know some people have brought up, we don't have access to those contracts, but we can ask for it. That's one of the things we can investigate. If that's brought up to our attention, like the state level, and this is for our legislature, if somebody is alleged to have a contingency fee, they can request a contract to review that contract to make sure they're not in violation of the statutory language. Compensation reports, they're already required to maintain that. We're just asking to make it public and put it on the website so people can see, what people are making at a range, what people are making for their services as lobbyists. And then those are the things that they can vote on as a commission through the ordinance. They can pass that at a commission meeting. The next thing we're asking for is jurisdiction over lobbyists and any addressing contention of fees that will serve more of more of an appeal board, and that will require a charter amendment. But I want to make it clear, the first portion of that recommendation is ones they can vote on, they can move forward on as a city commission. The other ones, it will help us to work in coordination with the city tax, I just drawing blank there. But basically will help us as far as the jurisdiction over fees. It'll keep that in-house, because right now those appeals will go to circuit court. This will keep it within our body so we can address those issues here internally. So those are the reforms regarding lobbying that we'll be addressing. Next, we'll be going to the definition of misuse, which when the ordinance was amended to remove the word corruptly, we did that to ensure that the barrier was not too high to bring an action of find a violation against someone. But as the board has come across many of these complaints, it's made it hard for us to make a distinction between what is consistent with the office that they're serving and what's inconsistent with the office that they're in. So we're asking them to be specified that the violation is one that's inconsistent with the proper performance of his or her office. In a sense, making it easier for us to dedicate our resources to those violations that reach the level that we are concerned about. And we are not spending too many resources going back and forth whether or not this is or is not a violation. It makes it easier for us to review those complaints. Penalties, I think another issue we came across is complaints that have come before us. Although we didn't see a clear-out violation, we saw some issues that we're concerned about, but we had no method of addressing that with the individual who the complaint was brought against. So we're asking them for giving us mechanisms in which we could find no violation, but still issue a stipulation or issue a statement stating the individual, no violation was found, but we saw some issues you should be aware of, or you should be concerned about. Consider this when we're going forward with your activities. And also allowing us to dismiss complaints that we believe are no violations, or just de minimis in the sense that they were not raised to a level of violation. Give us the authority to dismiss that prior to investigation, or give us the authority to do so. And then the final thing is the scrivener's error that we had to solve there. So that deals with the misuse portion, that deals with the penalties and a scrivener's error there. So those are two main things that they have letters from us, two things that we've asked for recommendations. The jurisdiction issue that we sent a letter on, that was brought up in this meeting as well. Right now, we're still in the same position we were before. We haven't changed, even though they took an opinion. Every lawyer has two opinions, or more than two. If you want to hire an attorney, hire one with one hand, so you can't say on the other hand. That's the issue we have here. You have two attorneys that they represent their client properly. Ours represents our client properly because he sees our issues, our concerns, and he raised those issues. Theirs is representing their client. Nothing's changed just because it's not a popularity contest. Those decisions aren't made because you like one opinion over the other. we're going to continue to operate in the same way we were before. There's no clarity so far, no clear definition of what the jurisdiction falls under in the ordinance. Our memo to them was stating that issue and asking them to take actions which is beyond just saying we have an opinion of our own. It takes them to change the ordinance to clarify that. Until such time, we're going to continue to operate in the sense that if you serve in those CRAs, if you serve a blueprint as a city commissioner, you will fall under jurisdiction if an issue of complaint is brought against you. We'll continue to move forward. If you want to challenge this jurisdiction, fine, that will be done, you have to take it to court, but now at this point, we'll continue to go forward and that, in our understanding of the way the ordinance is written. So our position will be, if that, the position of the city commission is that of their attorney, then they have to take actions to revise their ordinance to clarify that discrepancy. And then whistleblower protection is one that we are pushing for because I think it will help us address some of the issues we have as far as receiving complaints, working with the Inspector General on those issues that may overlap, and those issues that may not cross, the Inspector General may not have jurisdiction over, but we do when it comes to city commissioners. That gives us also the authority to afford a whistleblower protection to those complaints who come to us with complaints against the commissioner. That's kind of a fast summary of what I have. I'm gonna make it nicer hopefully by tomorrow. But that's an overview of what we're going to be presenting tomorrow. What I foresee, which is great, we're at the table this time. Last time we were part of a public and a mass of people that were not meant to be there, but we're a part of the public. This time we're at the table, which is a huge step. We're actually sitting there to discuss this matter. We have a voice in this process. What I can foresee, we make our presentation, their attorney will make their presentation, and then we'll be off to the races between the commissioners themselves to discuss that. I'll be there, Mr. Floyd will be there, and Mr. Reed will be there to address any issues or concerns they may have or questions they may have of the board. I know the vice chairman will be there, so.
If you get hit by a truck, he's.
Yeah, perfect. Not a long old walk, hopefully. It's right there, but, jeez. Thanks, Floyd. All right. On that note, I wanted to present this to the board to see if there's anything you want me to emphasize, focus, address, or, we got a big crowd there, or bring up that I did not address right now. Mr. Payne.
One thing I'd urge you to do would be to take advantage of Richard Herring's research that he's done
Oh, yeah.
relating to the Attorney General's opinions, as you just spoke about. And also mentioning the constitutional issue that they can't have more than one office. The lobbyist jurisdiction issue, you're presenting that as a recommended referendum. Is that, did I understand that correctly?
The jurisdictional issue, that's the one dealing
Yes,
with
the
the
jurisdiction.
appellate part. Yeah, that will have to be, that cannot be done as an ordinance change. Am I correct? And that, Mr. Reed, have to be a charter.
It would have to be put on the ballot.
Would there be any value in possibly bundling our jurisdiction issue over the CRA and blueprint with that as part of the same ballot initiative?
I don't think it's necessary. I think currently the charter says that we have jurisdiction over public officers, city employees. I think if the commission did wish to carve out public officials serving on the CRA or blueprint or employees that are assigned to those intergovernmental agencies, I think they could do that through the definition section of the ordinance. And I think that's something we'll be able to discuss with them tomorrow.
Yeah.
If it is their intent that blueprint and CRA be placed outside our jurisdiction, I think there are ways they could do that in the ordinance.
Thanks. Will there be a request for them to state their definitive position on that issue, on jurisdiction?
I think they already have to stay their position on, well, what I understand from the meeting they voted on was they voted in favor of the memo written by their city attorney with one recusal, if I'm mistaken. So it was a 3-1 vote. So I think that's that position. They feel that we do not have jurisdiction over city commissioners serving on either CRA or Blueprint. I'll make it clear again that that's fine if that's a position, but does not change the fact that the ordinance as it's written right now does not specify that. So we will continue to operate as we have in the past, that city commissioners serving either CRA or Blueprint are under our jurisdiction as far as review of complaints. If they wish to challenge that, they have methods of either clarifying that in ordinance or challenging our jurisdiction in court. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, and I wouldn't, we're not asking them to make our opinion is to pass a referendum on this. Like, okay, if you want, it depends on what you want. Because what you have right now, simply writing a memo and voting, do you like it, is not sufficient. It's not how laws are made. Any other comments, positions, concerns, recommendations, jokes to tell, anything? No good jokes? Nothing? All right. So, should be interesting. I think it'll be very productive. Looking forward to it, and hope you guys will be there. For now. Mr. Floyd, anything else in this matter?
No, sir. It'll be interesting. I already said I'm gonna write a book when I retire.
Moving on to annual ethics training for city employees.
Yes, and the reason I bring this to you is just in case you have any input, I just want to give. Last time of the year, I recall we added social media and some other content, so. And I think a couple of you have volunteered to be subject matter experts, and I haven't forgotten that. I just haven't got to that point yet. But this is just a PowerPoint of, this is just a review of what they got last year. And I use a different example because, again, I want it to be relatable. And from working with new employees, I learn about their jobs and what they do. And that helps me write training that's relatable. And, I won't go into detail here, but I present it to you, and then an hour later, if you have any thoughts, just let me know. I'm meeting with the HR next week to start planning, and we'll be moving forward. So it's as simple as that.
Moving on to updates on campaign contribution refund program.
Okay. Campaign contribution refund program. We're a little bit busy on that. I still have to update the website after tomorrow. I should have time to do that. I met with Ernie's help, Mr. Payne's help. We put a small group of neighborhood representatives, League of Women's Voters, and one entrepreneur who actually gave very good input. It lasted about 30 minutes, but it was a very fruitful 30 minutes. They looked at the form and gave me feedback on the form. I changed the form based on that feedback. I shared it with the individuals running for office. One of them was particularly interested. Another one told me they had one concern on the form. You should look at the form because I worked on it. It looks like this. Try to make it more user-friendly. And it was almost like a math equation what we written before. So try to make it feel better. Only thing I didn't use, voter registration number. We required to give the voter registration number. And it was brought to my attention that a lot of voters don't have their voter registration number or can't access it. So I was going to make that optional. And the reason for this information is so that we can go to the supervisor of elections and confirm that they made the donation. Because those running for office, they have to do a monthly report on contributions. So we can go there and make sure they're registered voters. And we can do that without the voter registration number, so I'll just make it optional. And otherwise, the whole point was to make it as user-friendly as possible. The concept that they presented to me that I liked was being able to go online, enter the information, not require a receipt, because if we can go to the supervisor's election and look it up, then we don't need a receipt. We just need proper identification and address and all that good stuff. However, the way that the charter is written, I can't do that because the charter specifically says that it has to be mailed or emailed and that you have to provide a receipt. If it had been in the ordinance, then we could just go make a change. In discussion with some city staff, it suggested that if the next time we address something that has to go before the public, we include this in the referendum. So I'm going to try to, at present, I'm going to try to work with this as best I can and go and make it as simple as possible. Because the concern was, if I had to ask for a refund for $25 and I had to go and scan receipt in, fill out this form, put it in an envelope, and mail it, that's discouraging for a lot of people. Now, some people, $25 is a lot of money, so they're going to go through that trouble. And some of those people are the people we're trying to reach. But that was one of the concerns. So we're just trying to make the process as simple as possible. I'm going to meet with those people again by the end of the month, tell them what we've accomplished up to this point and get their feedback. And by then, I'll have the webpage done. I will talk to the supervisor of elections to get his input. And then some of them have already said that they'll basically said they'll advertise this on their newsletters, which is good. So the enthusiasm from a few was good. You have to start somewhere. So we'll keep working with that, and really we're working with we're working with the people running for office, and otherwise we're just going to push word of mouth and get people to help us move this forward. Mr. Payne, was there anything that?
I just want to acknowledge and thank Peter Bocin's assistance with that meeting with the neighborhood leaders. Gave them a background of the ethics code and what we do and all that.
Right. Yes, he came in and gave a presentation on the history. It was brief, which was good. And he's not there where I can mess with it. But he gave a good presentation, and we did appreciate it, and it kind of got things rolling in the right direction.
Thank you. Good work on that. Any public comment on non-agenda items? Discussion regarding items for future meetings. Anything you guys want to discuss in the future? No directives from anybody or me. Mr. Payne moves, we adjourn. Talk for seconds. We adjourn.